Let me ask Thomas the Villain Bishop a question. What do you think would be more effective if shit ever hit the fan? My AR-15 or your nail polish?
So Zachary's apparently looking for his next 15 minutes of fame, and I feel generous, so let's give it to him. If you ever wondered what the definition of a cosplatriot is, look no further than Zach. A cosplatriot is obsessed with one of two fantasies. Either the US gets invaded and they get to suddenly try to become a war hero, or they think they're going to form an insurgency and fight back against a tyrannical government. And that's the reason for their obsession with the AR-15. They believe they have to be stockpiled at all times in case one of those two events happens. I mean, we could tell them that it's not the AR-15 that is the worldwide weapon of choice for forming insurgencies or fighting back against a foreign invader. But instead, let's talk about the shit hits the fan scenario. The interesting part is they're obsessed with the idea of an attack on American soil that would give them an excuse to go to war, while ignoring the fact that we had an attack on American soil 21 years ago and spent the next 20 years after that involved in a war that they decided not to go to. At no point during that 20 years were the recruiter stations closed down, but for some reason they just couldn't find them. But this brings us to the issue is, does a population always need to be armed and ready in case of a foreign invader? And the answer is no. The general population does not always need to be armed and ready to go in case of a foreign invader. We can use their favorite example of why they think they need to be armed and ready to go at all times. Ukraine is why they shouldn't be. Ukraine actually has some very tough gun laws, and its population is just not rocking a surplus of AKs hidden in their bedrooms. If we had strict gun laws in this country and were invaded, we would do the exact same thing that Ukraine did. The Ukrainian government opened the armories, armed the population, and then drafted them into the military, to the point that the Ukrainian government was preventing military-aged males from evacuating the country, and then armed them. These males just didn't have an AR or an AK sitting around ready to go into war. They were given one by their government. The United States government has a surplus of weapons. We in fact have more weapons to issue out than we have soldiers to issue them to. So no, we don't need cosplatriot gun owners to be ready in case we're ever invaded. Also, if we're ever invaded, the AR or AK is just one of the tools that you would need to successfully repel an invader. So unless you got some javelins sitting in your basement, I think we're pretty good without dipping into your stockpile. And that's what kills their other fantasy of starting an insurgency. Without the state-sponsored part of insurgency, insurgencies fail. American gun owners do not own the proper equipment to go against an actual military. And with the exception of two, conservatives have made an enemy of the main backers of state-sponsored insurgencies. One of the two that they haven't made an enemy with yet, they'd actually be fighting. And the other's not doing so well against Ukraine right now. But if you ever wondered why the politicians that supported January 6th support Russia, that's why.